Hope you're having a great day. Today I will be reacting to these viral videos around uh, feeling behind in life. There's a lot of these inspirational YouTube videos popping up these days, and they're usually titled something like "Watch this if you're feeling behind in life." I feel like it's really applicable to a lot of my viewers, so I thought it could provide some value for me to react to it and give my own input based on my experience over the last several years as a personal development blogger and YouTuber, and all my studies of studying successful people and seeing how long it takes for them to be successful. Now, yeah, also keep in mind it takes a long time just to set up screen recordings. I mean, this was not easy to set up. So let's just watch it. Let's begin.
I've been thinking a lot about this phenomenon of feeling behind in life, which is something I've come up against quite a bit in my life, and something that I think a lot of my friends and peers go through as well, especially when I bring it up in conversation. I just feel like people identify with that very quickly. And it makes me think that this is probably an issue on a bigger scale than I initially thought, you know? It's sort of something I think many of us don't.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there and then put it on 1.5 times speed because that's how I watch videos. Hopefully, no one minds. Yeah, I think the first big thing is like social media is a cause, but also like even without social media, you're always comparing yourself to your classmates in school and how they go
Can't
about
quite put our finger on or articulate very well or are combating silently, but it's still there. It still exists. This feeling of like not measuring up, never being able to catch up. And what I find so interesting is that everybody has their own version of that. Thinking about that has really made
really good cinematography via stock videos, but
me reconsider aspects of myself. For example, the fact that I'm very competitive. I used to think that that was a really good thing because I'm motivated and determined and very forward thinking. But on the same token, I feel like that's also robbed me of a lot of joy, of a lot of pleasure. Always having to be better, move forward, improve, get the
okay, so that's a common thing around self-development. Once you get really into it after a few years, I actually wrote a whole article on like top 5 reasons that self-development is bad. And I published that a couple years ago. Um, I think being competitive is not necessarily bad. Michael Jordan, I mean, he's done very well. He thrives on it. I don't think he would think the same thing. I think what he's really getting at is when you just keep trying to improve and then it becomes toxic because you just never feel good enough with yourself and it becomes more about self-worth and self-consciousness. The reason why someone like Michael Jordan doesn't deal with that is because I think he's proud of his achievements and he loves the game of basketball. But when everyday people do it, it can just become toxic because you really don't know why you just keep improving or you just keep beating yourself up over not going to the gym every day or stuff like that, and it's not really it's it can just be more about everyday toxicity than actually achieving anything and hitting that greatness of a basketball championship.
advantage, get ahead. And that's kind of an ugly thing to admit. And I've been trying to figure out why this comes up so much in my life, why this is such a deep drive. And I know I'm not supposed to compare to others. I should focus on myself and be in my lane, but it's built into us. Thousands of years ago, say you're a farmer, and the farmer next door is doing the same things you are, or so you think, but they're having much greater results. It's in your best interest to find out what they're doing, right? It gets really messy when you think about the fact that, I'm part of the problem, if you will. Like, who wants to show the worst moments of their lives anyway, right? And if you look at my Instagram or you look at the things that I posted, you might come to the conclusion that I'm living.
There you go. Obviously, we bring it back to social media here, and yeah, we are all part of the problem, but it's also like built into the system. Like, if you want to get followers, posting about the crappy stuff you go through usually does not work unless you position it in a certain way. From experience, I've posted the crappy stuff I go through on my Instagram. Doesn't get likes, doesn't get views. People like to see the good stuff. So it's really about whether you want to chase the following, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't want to chase the following, as you can tell sometimes by my persistence, despite my low view count. So in that sense, like yeah, I post crappy stuff. A lot of my captions are really about the struggles I go through for that reason. But yeah, it's built into the system. Like if you want to get followers, it's not even the platform's fault. It's just the nature of what people want to pursue in a platform. It's almost like a reflection of human nature as a whole on social media.
and an extraordinary life, right? And I've had a good year. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to complain about my life. I have had an exceptional year, and it's been full of incredible experiences. But what I post doesn't tell the full story. It just doesn't. It doesn't tell the story of the self-doubt, of the fear, of the moments of not
I guess since this guy has a lot of subscribers, what's he at? 1.47 million, Lord.
knowing what to do, of regret, of the stress that I felt, of the anxiety. This is not. I'm not trying to make a sob story, but these are things that I think
Wait, where is he? He's like sitting on a rock in the forest. I mean, that's a pretty good backdrop.
we all go through. I think we all, in some way or at some level, have felt what depression is, or sadness at the very least. And that's the part I think a lot of us kind of want to put to the side. Or I mean, I do. I mean, I know I want to be happy as often and as much as possible. If I could always be in a state of positivity and of creativity and of being giving and generous, who wouldn't want to be in that mode at all times? But that's, I just don't think that that is how it works. What I've been kind of realizing little by little is that competitiveness and that need to not be feeling behind, right? To desperately move forward. I think for me at least, I'll just speak in my case, is based out of a lack of self-love. It's not, I don't like
Yeah, we go back to that self-consciousness. He just rambled for like 2 minutes straight. Like I think his point, more succinctly, is yeah, he doesn't really know what the issue is, and he thinks it's self-love. Uh, and it's kind of hard to say like he's trying to process it himself, I think.
hate myself, or I don't think I do, but I also am not okay with where I am or who I am at this point in life. I haven't accepted me, which I think would be massively liberating. This feeling of being behind. Well, behind what? Whose measuring stick am I using? You know, like, where did this come from?
If I had to read behind the lines, he's on Instagram a lot, and he sees some people who's richer, more successful, and so forth, and maybe younger or the same age as him, and he just drills in on that. Uh, and now I think he's rambling a bit, but he just doesn't feel good about himself. Once again, compare that to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, super confident, best player in the world. He knows he's the best player in the world. He loves it. It's not the competitiveness that's the issue. He's super competitive and he loves it, and that doesn't hold him back, that pushes him forward. So, what exactly is the issue here when Michael Jordan is not affected by it? I think it's really maybe self love, but I think really it's, in my humble opinion, my 2 cents, I could be wrong. It's just like this guy thinks, he's probably making a good deal from YouTube, but he's like, oh, I'm only making $200,000 a year from YouTube. This guy, he's making millions. Something along those lines. Some type of weird, but common story you tell yourself about a certain standard you have to hit.
It's all living in my brain. Everybody's version of this is different. That should be a telltale sign that this is like invented. This is not something that makes any rational sense. To think that life can be calculated or predicted is wrong. It's wrong. It's nonlinear. You can't calculate where you'll be in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. You can't. That's not possible. I've tried to do that and disappointed myself. I worked with a director of photography who I think is exceptionally talented. And we just kind of had a heart-to-heart conversation. This guy's a lot older than me, so he's had a lot more life experience. But in
I kind of do videos like this where I just ramble, and I wonder how this guy does so. Is it this? I think this stock video photography and the stock music keep people engaged, which increases watch time. I think that's the main difference. But we'll see.
that conversation, we talked about some of these sorts of things, and he said to me, "I'm basically where you're at. You know, I'm at the same stage trying to figure
I feel like he's rambling still, though. But it's succinct, 6 minutes of
out
rambling.
where I'm going or what I'm going to be doing." That was like such a huge revelation. I realized that we all go through this. We all go through this. This is something that is shared by all of us in a way. And that's kind of amazing. That's like a relief. I feel such a weight lifted off myself when I allow myself to accept that.
Yeah, I think another huge issue here is everyone has this mapped out plan that they need to be at a certain place with certain jobs, certain possessions by X age. And that's part of many cultures. And truth is like that doesn't always work out like that, and that's okay. And if you study successful people, like some of them are like still like homeless or like John Paul DeJoria or not that rich yet by the age of 30 or 35, or sometimes they're just still working a 9 to 5 at that point. They haven't started their business yet. So I think people drill in on the outliers, those young kids who get rich off YouTube. It's not the norm.
I'm not crazy for thinking this way. A lot of us are going through this. When the day comes, or if the day comes, that I'm able to finally get it in my head that I am who I am how I am, I'll be able to accept that I'm doing the best I can. And that there's no such thing as being behind in life. That's just using a measuring stick that's wrong for you. It's a measuring stick that's
Yeah, I feel like beneath this, he's not giving certain details about his personal life, but there's certain specific things he's definitely drilling down in and struggling with feeling behind in life. I wonder what it is. If I had to guess, maybe income, job titles. I mean, those are usually the main things. Um, but like the average median income of a U.S. citizen is like only like 50K a year. So most people live their whole lives and they never surpass that median income. And so oftentimes it's less about hitting a certain point and more so about not drilling in and focusing on that one person and looking at the overall stats of people. And yeah, 50K a year is pretty modest. It's not some like stop drilling in on some self-made millionaire who's trying to sell you some course on YouTube. And it's tough though. From personal experience, I've been tempted by those courses myself, and I've worried about
based on the success of
other
others,
places
which is
as well.
arbitrary. It doesn't mean that has no meaning when translated into your life. And I think what I need is just reminders of that. I just need to not forget that. It's so easy to forget. I feel like I have to remind myself every day. And I think that's why I wanted to make this, to remind myself.
Yeah, and I would say it's not just about reminding. I would say this guy needs to get